The exam room was like any other. Whitewashed walls, cotton swabs stuffed in glass jars, black instruments hanging from the wall. The air in the room swirled, cold, a cloud of sterile scent. Overhead, fluorescent bulbs, their light the same bright white. One of the bulbs flickered. The man resting atop the examination table turned over, the stiff paper sheet below him crinkling, and glanced at the bulb. The flicker reminded him of something distant, yet close. He blinked, and dropped his eyes onto a diagram of the human body affixed to the wall across from him. Still, the light flickered. In, out. In, out. The diagram's laminate reflected the pulses like a strobe light. The pulsing became unbearable, so he turned over, grunting, clenching his fists. His gown rasped against his skin. With a loud creak, the door opened. The man's mind flashed to rifle fire and grenade blasts, each flicker from the bulbs overhead now an array of muzzle flashes, surrounding him, enclosing him. He heard men scream, heard them cry for their mothers and fathers, for home. A white-sleeved hand presented itself. Its owner grinned. Catching his breath, the images whirling through his head subsiding, the man clasped the hand and shook it. He noticed its nails were buffed into perfect semicircles. So sterile, he thought. "How are you today?" the owner of the hand asked. "Not well," the man said. He sat up, the paper again snapping and cracking, the rubber cushion beneath screaming. Everything screams, he thought for an instant before gesturing toward his thighs. They're hurting again. The doctor set down a long black case he was carrying beside the table, then pressed his hand against the man's thigh. The man winced as a finger probed a point above where his leg tapered off, just above the knee. Smiling, the doctor tweaked one of the stitches in his stump, as though the thread were a guitar string. "Looking good. Have you considered what we discussed last time regarding prosthetics?" The man knit his brow and sighed. Above, the light flickered again, this time producing an electric hum. It reminded him of an engine, like a tank. His eyes found the stumps. Patches of goose flesh rose like a rash over his body. A tank engine, he realized with sudden dread. The doctor snapped his fingers, and the man jumped, sweat beginning to pour down his forehead. "Did you?" the doctor asked, and commenced applying pressure to a half-healed bullet wound near the man's hip, still smiling with teeth. From the corner of his eye, the man saw rockets and fire and blood-letting wounds staring up at him from the place where men's hearts used to be. He gritted his teeth as pain coursed through him like electrocution. After a minute, the man pulled away his thighs and said, eyes wide and red-rimmed, "Yeah, I want what you offered." The doctor seemed not to notice, and instead turned around, wrenched open a drawer, and withdrew a hypodermic. He flicked it with his finger as a kid might a marble. A single bubble gurgled up as the fluid settled. "I thought you might." "Fantastic. Was your wife happy to have you home?" "She was till she ran off." "I understand." The man looked down at his legs and sighed. "Couldn't run after her, now could I? Not like this, at least." "Indeed. Fortunately, such trials are behind us now. Do you have the sum we agreed upon?" "I do." He produced his wallet, green save for a star enclosed in a box at the center, which lay beside him, hidden within a mass of clothes, and handed the doctor a bundle of $100 bills. The edges of the bills were weathered and crinkled, and the red rubber band holding them together had begun to molder. The doctor flipped through the bills and tucked them away into his jacket. "There's nobody in the office but us tonight. We can begin the operation if you'd like." "Please," the man said. Suddenly, his mind conjured as though through a window the image of a body lying in a puddle of mud. Rain pelted the ground around it. Its skin was soft and just beginning to lose its natural pink. A black halo of hair radiated outward. a few tresses obscuring a toothless, caved face. The scene stunk of lavender. A man stood behind the body, a spade in hand. He was grinning. A word hung on the air. Indeed. Indeed, the doctor said, beaming, and picked up the case he had brought with him. I think you'll be pleased, my friend. Your new legs will be the envy of all our homebound heroes. Glad to hear it, the man said, and pawed at his stubble. It's tough, you know, this. The doctor nodded, then unzipped the bag and set it on the edge of the table. He reached inside and extracted 2 entire legs, from toes to thighs. Their skin was smooth, but had turned gray, as though carved from marble. Not an ounce of blood spilled from the legs' cauterized cuts. Hints of lavender filled the room, faint but present. Isn't she? The doctor said. Yes, the man said, cutting the doctor off. His lips betrayed the ghost of a smile. She is.